To stay alive, a cell must exchange materials with its environment. These materials may move in and out of the cell through the so-called endocytosis and exocytosis. Both processes of movement may be in the form of passive or active transport. The cell membrane of the cell is said to be semi-permeable. This means that small molecules like oxygen and water can easily diffuse in it. Likewise for carbon dioxide and amino acids too. This kind of materials move naturally from a higher concentration gradient to a lower concentration gradient. Molecules move in this way requires no energy, thus a passive transport. On the other hand, molecules with strong electrical charges such as sodium and potassium ions cannot simply diffuse into the membrane due to their charges. Large molecules like protein, carbohydrates such as starches and sugar may also not diffuse easily. This kind of molecules needs a special facility called carrier protein in order to pass through. Glucose, a simple sugar, is transported with the aid of this carrier protein. Glucose molecule attaches itself to the carrier protein to change its shape and eventually moves into the membrane. In this way, glucose is moved down from a higher concentrated gradient to a lower concentrated gradient. Like diffusion, this process called facilitated transport requires no energy in moving into the cell. Hence, it is therefore a passive transport. Cells must also pump out against a concentration gradient. Ions such as sodium and potassium are moving this way. A special carrier protein is needed. In this case, a sodium-potassium pump is involved. ATP transfers energy to the carrier protein. This causes the protein to change its shape in order for the sodium ions to readily bind to it. The binding of the sodium ion causes another change in the shape of the protein, and the sodium ions are released outside the cell. The protein can now bind potassium ions. When the potassium ions bind, the protein again changes its shape and the potassium ions are released into the cell. In order for the cycle gets repeated, another ATP is needed for the sodium-potassium pump. Moving ions this way requires energy. It is therefore an active transport.